Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Disney's Old Key West Resort. This is a Disney Vacation Club resort and today we're going to give you a bit of a tour around. We're doing this in a different way though. Normally we wander around the resort, we look at all the nooks and crannies, but this resort is really big and so I wanted to show you the entire resort and do that by taking you for a drive in the Jeep. So I know that there's a little bit of a different way of doing this, but I do think that it'll be a good way to show you around, give you a sense of how big this place is, and look at some of the areas of the resort that we don't normally see. Because so often when people think of Old Key West, they think of this area where we are right now. We're right off the lobby. And you think of the shop and the food, and that's great, but what does the rest of the resort look like? That's what we're going to take a look at today. So let me get you in your special little seat here and then we'll make our way. We're starting our tour of Disney's Old Key West here from the parking lot of the Hospitality House. Now, as you can see from where you're sitting, we're looking at some rooms, and there are going to be some rooms that are really close to this area. By the way, this is the lobby. This is where you're going to check in, dining, feature pool, shops, and transportation to Disney Springs via the boat is going to be right here. But if we look at a map, you can see it's a big resort. Some places are not going to be close to the Hospitality House at all, or I should say some rooms. And so it's important to keep in mind. Before we turn away though, see that white structure? That's the entrance to the Hospitality House from this direction. It's also a bus stop. So that's where you're going to catch the bus from this section of the resort to any of the 4 theme parks. You're only going to have bus transportation to the theme parks from this resort. The only exception is the boat that you can catch here in this area to Disney Springs. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But as we kind of make this left-hand turn, I want to talk a little bit more about this resort. So like I said, we're driving today because I wanted to give you the best look at this resort that I can. I also think that driving is the best way to experience this resort because it's set up more like a town than it is like any other hotel or Walt Disney World Resort Hotel. And that's going to be important to keep in mind as you're wandering around with me today and thinking about whether or not this resort is right for you. If you're going to be coming here without access to a car, it's going to be a very different experience than it will if you have a car. And while it's not impossible to stay here and just walk around on foot, we've done it in the past, it is a very different experience. And it's not going to be right for everyone, especially if you have mobility issues, you have little ones. And if you want to spend a lot of time at that feature pool, dining at the restaurants here at the resort, it's really something to think about. Anyway, as we kind of make our way down this road, you'll see that it looks like a neighborhood, looks like a town. It doesn't look like a hotel, which we're going to say probably 1,000 times as we're wandering around here today because it looks like a neighborhood. And I really want to make that point so that you understand what you're getting yourself into if you're staying here. Just off to the right is a bus stop. It's one of many that's at this resort. As I said, bus transportation is what you're going to be using if you're going to the theme parks from here, unless you're driving yourself, of course. They're covered, which is nice, especially because, some of the rooms are going to be kind of far from the bus stop, so at least you can have a little bit of shade while you wait for the bus. Here we have some of the buildings, and as you can see, they look like multifamily homes, which is nice. We'll take a closer look here as we kind of pull into this parking spot because we are at a dead end here. But before we take a closer look at those buildings, let's look at the map again. So here we're zooming in again to that Miller's Road area. This is where we are right now. And as we pull into this spot, you'll see again the homes. We do have stairs that go up to the 2nd floor. So that's important to keep in mind if you're planning on staying here and stairs aren't going to work for you. Make sure that you put your requests in. Always put your requests in early too. I always have people ask about that, what they can do to make sure that they get the room that they want. Put your requests in as soon as possible, as soon as you book your rooms. They're never guaranteed, but in my experience, the sooner, the better. Anyway, as we make our way back down Miller's Road, you'll see that there's a lot of parking on either side of the road. You're going to see this all around the resort. Again, this is set up to be a home away from home. It's much more like a town or neighborhoods than it is a hotel. And this can be really great. I do like that if you are staying in one of these Disney Vacation Club villas and you're going to be doing groceries and you're going to be using your car every day, your car can be parked right next to you. And I think that that is wonderful. It really makes things a lot easier instead of having to walk clear through your resort out the front, for example, and then through a parking lot. Parking is pretty close to you no matter where you're staying at this resort, and that's great. Of course, there are some downsides to this as well. Now, right here on this stretch of road, you'll see that there are sidewalks on one side of the road, but there aren't sidewalks on both sides of the road everywhere, and some areas don't have a sidewalk at all, and that means walking in the street. And with all the people who are driving, with all of the cars that do go through this resort throughout the day, that can be less than ideal, especially if you're not comfortable walking yourself or your family in traffic. Now, we're driving today. You're not seeing a ton of traffic. You're seeing some golf carts go by, a few buses, but I also decided to do this drive during a time of day where it's not very busy. It does get busy here though. I'm not talking necessarily about traffic jams, but you can definitely expect there to be a lot of cars around, just like any other neighborhood. So again, that's important to keep in mind and really think about when you're deciding whether or not this resort is right for you. So I'm turning into this area now, and you'll see, again, lots of parking. You'll see the buildings. They don't feel like a hotel, do they? I think that that's great. I do. Feels much more like homes. And if you look at the room tour that we did, you'll see that even the interior feels more like a home, feels more like a condo than it does a hotel room, which will be great for some people, but again, not great for everyone. And there are a lot of reasons that I say that, but before I get into it, if you look out across the street, that again is the hospitality house. You kind of get a different angle of that, but we already went over there. We're gonna check out another part of the resort. But while we're waiting to get over there, let me just explain. So like I said, I don't think that this home feel is right for everyone. One of the things that I don't like about it is that there are no interior spaces to walk back to your room. So if you're staying at a resort like Beach Club, like Boardwalk, and the list goes on, you're gonna walk into a building and then walk through that building to get to your room. And that's nice, you got a lot of extra air conditioning. You're not gonna get that from here because there are no covered interior spaces between rooms. So that's important to keep in mind and think about what your vacation looks like for you and your family. By the way, we're coming up on another bus stop right here on the right. And if you keep your eyes open on the left, you'll notice a waterway. Now, this is where we are right now. I'm zooming in. It's just about in the middle of your screen as we come around that bend. You have that waterway off to the left. And that is the waterway that you're going to take to get to Disney Springs if you go the route of taking the boat transportation. Now again, you're going to catch that boat transportation from the hospitality house. How do you get there if you're not walking? Honestly, catch a bus to anywhere and then just get off at the hospitality house. That's a great option. The only downside is you have to walk back to your room from the hospitality house because I believe, if things haven't changed, the hospitality house bus stop is the last one on the route. So you can save time getting there. You're going to have to walk getting back. You know, just another one of those things with this resort that can be a little bit quirky. I will say that I do think that having this boat transportation is great because it's another way to get somewhere that isn't a bus. It's not air conditioned. It's a little bit loud. So those are the downsides, but it's fun. And you know, it's just another one of those unique experiences that you might not necessarily have the opportunity to do in your hometown. So it's cool to try it out here, you know, get on that boat and go to Disney Springs. Here on the left, we have another bus stop, and then we're going to keep going down the road. And as we go down the road, you'll notice looks pretty much the same over here as it does elsewhere at the resort. But I want you to keep your eye out on the sidewalks. Now we have a sidewalk on the left here, none on the right. But as we kind of go down this road, you'll see that there are parking spots right here and here that aren't accessible via the sidewalk. And this sidewalk right here does not have a ramp for you to use the sidewalk and then get down it. So I think that that's an accessibility issue, especially if you're not in a handicap space. Also, none of these spots over here have sidewalk access, which means you're going to be walking in the street. And going around this circle isn't just something that guests do in their cars, but it's also something that the buses do so that they can make their way to that bus stop that we just passed a second ago. And so that's another thing that I think is important to keep in mind. Again, how are you going to be enjoying your time at this resort? Are you going to be doing a lot of walking? Do you have kids? Are you using an ACV or a wheelchair? That can impact whether or not this resort is going to be right for you, at least in my opinion. Not only driving through, because we're driving through today, but having walked through this resort multiple times myself, I just don't really care for the lack of sidewalks and the lack of ramps where they ought to be, at least in my opinion. Now we're making our way back down this road. This is the road we just came down, so we're just seeing it from a different angle now following this bus. In fact, let me show you where we are on the map. So we're kind of at the furthest point of this resort right there where that circle is at the bottom. That's where we are, or we just were. We're making our way back out toward the front now. Now here on our right, you will see this sign. Again, those are all the building numbers pointing to the direction that you need to go in order to get to those buildings. And we could take some of these side roads and show you more of the resort, but you've basically seen what the resort looks like. Looks pretty much the same all around. There's that boat I was just mentioning. It's a really fun ride. I think it's really cool. I've wanted to do it at night for a really long time, and I haven't had the opportunity. I wanted to do it during this day, but we had a terrible thunderstorm, so they probably weren't even running the boats. Maybe next time. Maybe next time I'm at Disney Springs, I'll take a boat out here at night. But we're making our way back toward the hospitality house now. We're following one of these golf carts. Sometimes they drive a little crazy, I'll be honest with you. Seen some crazy driving golf carts here on Disney property, not just at Old Key West, but also over at Saratoga Springs, which is another really big resort. So cast members do use golf carts to get around. Always just be careful of the golf carts. Always keep your eye out and give them a little bit of extra space because you never know. Here we are going over that bridge one more time. Now, if you were to look directly to your right, I know you can't see it. That's where there is a playground here behind the feature pool at the hospitality house. There's also that fire pit where they roast marshmallows. So there's some fun stuff out that way as well, but it's just so far from everything. And again, I know I've said this multiple times as we've been wandering around and taking a look at this resort in general, but I really want to make sure that I am clear about that and not giving you the impression that this place is easy to access and enjoy if you don't have a car available to you. You know, I don't want you getting here and realizing that you can't have a good time. So that's why I say the things that I do, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. But anyway, let's pull into this spot and wrap things up. And that about does it for our wander around of Old Key West. Like I said, this one was a little bit different, but this resort is a little bit different. It's not set up like a resort as much as it's set up like a town with neighborhoods, and then there are those long roads that we went down. So I hope that this gives you an idea of kind of what to expect if you're planning on staying here. And you know, I do think that it was good that we did this in the Jeep so that we could drive around and see what the traffic situation looked like and see just kind of what it looks like on both sides of the road. Sometimes that can get lost when you're just walking around and you're keeping your eye out for different things. You don't really see what it's like to make your way through this resort, so we had a chance to do that today. Of course, we didn't go down every single road. We didn't see every nook and cranny of this resort, but so much of it looks pretty much the same, so I hope that you understand. But of course, you know, if you want to see more, like I say all the time, leave us a comment down below. Tell us what it is you want to see, and we'll make our way back out here and try and show you just that. But for now, I think it's time for me to head out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed going for this drive through Old Key West, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.